Is that
Hey,
better?
that's awesome.
All right.
That's actually it's the opposite of what happened at the conference all last weekend, right? Like everybody's mics was on instead of being off. It was crazy.
Uh,
Did you find that in the sessions you were in?
only a only a couple times. Yeah, I mean, occasionally I just it figured it happened. So I guess maybe I got lucky and only a few people. What was weird was so I presented twice.
Uh-huh.
One of them was recorded, so that was easy to go in and like answer people's questions.
Right.
Then the other one was live. And so I get on in this waiting room with 20. Did you present at all by any chance?
No, I attended, but I didn't
Okay.
present.
So with 20 minutes to go, I go in this waiting room and this guy comes in and he's a tech guy. And he's like, well, are you familiar with Zoom? And I'm like, yeah, like I run it for meetings. I do a whole lot. And he goes, well, do this other thing. I'm like, okay, well, how do I record? And he's like, oh, well, it automatically records. So you don't have to worry about anything. So as soon as you hit start meeting, it will record. I said,
Uh-huh.
okay. I'm like, so everything's recorded. I don't need to like hit any buttons or do anything else. Now, mind you, I've been in other sessions where, like, at the end, when the presenter goes, well, are there any questions? Like, people unmute their mics and say, like, well, hey, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I unmuted my mic. Hey, blah, 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 blah. So,
Right.
anyway, I even had a friend watching the chat and I had another computer sitting over here. And so at the end of my presentation, it's all about, so it, I've given the jewelry presentation probably 4 times
Right.
and I know when there's questions, like, and there's, so I'm like, so like I just said for students to use fire, and like there's not even a single like thing, and so I'm looking over here and I'm seeing like a red light like flash up here, but it's not like a blink, it's like,
Right.
and I'm looking over my chat and I'm like, okay, blah 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 jewelry. So anyway, when it's over, I'm leaving like 5 minutes just so. Does anyone have any questions for? And so I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. I'm getting a lot of questions, and I'm not even seeing my friend. Like, hey Matt, by the way, so and so asked, and no one's asking me. Like, not one person unmuted. I'm sitting here like, and so I click on the red button, and like, there's a whole other chat. Like a whole other chat's been going on.
Oh,
That's separate
wow.
from the Pathable chat. It's a Zoom chat.
Yeah, that was confusing for everybody. There were two things simultaneously happening.
Right. So I'm like, oh well, sorry, like, and here's these answers to this question and here's this, and then someone's like, well, if you go into your settings and unmute like everyone's mic, like apparently, which I wasn't told, like I needed to go in and say students could, or whatever, participants can unmute to ask questions, like I needed to do that setting. So
Oh,
anyway, like 2 or 3 different people were like, Matt, this was a wonderful presentation, we think this would be great, are you open to like presenting, whatever, like in Canada, would you present here? Would you do this? And I'm like, yes, here's my information. Feel free to email me, et cetera, yada, yada. And I'm doing all of these things and I'm emailing this stuff. So anyway, it's over. And like it says, the video recording for this is not available. And so I'm losing my mind. And of course, the Pathable chat is saved. But the
okay.
people that were asking me to like do presentations and they were giving me their contact info into Zoom, like so I emailed like the tech people, how do I get my Zoom chat from my thing? And they're like, well, did you hit like go into your settings and hit save Zoom chat with whatever? And I'm like, no. Like you said, everything would be saved and recorded. And they're like, well, you would have had to do that before you started. Sorry. Does that answer your question?
Oh,
Like,
God.
so long story short is my video is available to watch. That's positive. Negative, I have no idea because like according to the thing, like 170 people attended it, and I don't know which of the three asked me about presenting. So hopefully they got my email information and will email me. But it was just that part was kind of a train wreck of not being told what to do.
Yeah, there were so many tech issues, really. I hope. if it happens again next year, that like they simplify, just use, I don't know why they were doubling up. Like, why couldn't they just use Zoom and the recordings from Zoom? What is Pathable, or did Pathable run the entire conference? And if that's the case, why involve Zoom?
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I'm with you.
I mean, I'm glad most of them were recorded, because so many of them were happening at the same time, and there's only so many hours in the day. And I was so overloaded by the end of that weekend. I still haven't had time to go back and watch the ones I missed. I wanted to see yours, and there were like 4 others happening at the same time. And so I'll have to find the recorded version.
Well, I will tell you.
Yes.
Skip through like the first 5 minutes
Uh-huh.
because it's me sitting there going.
There's a lot of that. Everybody did that. It's like the first 10 minutes was like either talking or setup or switching to this or switching to. There were so many I saw walking from one part of their house to another because the signals weren't working. I mean, it was like really funny.
On a positive note, like once I started, but you could definitely tell in my recording, I'm like, and blah 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 fire. Okay, well, I don't see any questions about that. So moving on, and the next thing
that would make you wonder if people were alive and breathing during.
That was, I will tell you right now, that was the hardest thing for me, because when I gave this presentation in Seattle, because it is all about setting up a jewelry studio in your classroom, and I'm talking about fire and drills and like all this stuff, and a settling, and it's how to do it. Like I started like with, like bentonite, like copper soldering torches and like cement bricks and the whole 9 yards. And they're just like, what did you have? I'm like, well, there was a big ceiling hood, and they're like, you like kids? I'm like, hey, it's shop class, like it's shop class, but art. And no one had a problem. And yes, now I have a settling torch. What? You have a settling torches? Are you like, you do? And it's just so funny, like some of their actions. I'm like, I have taught this for 26 years, and the 2 worst accidents I've had in my classroom are like the kids that forget, like those, seriously, they're excited, like it's soldered, and they like pick it up really quickly.
Right.
But it cauterizes their hand.
Oh yeah.
So it's so hot, and they're like, oh, and they drop it, and they're left with that. Or like I tell the story of the Dremels, like some of the girls who won't, like I tell them to pull back their hair, but like I'm trying to like watch 30 students.
Yes.
And I'm like, nothing personal. If you're of someone of long hair and you do not remember to pull it back when you're about to like use a Dremel to polish,
you're gonna lose it.
So it was funny because when I gave it in person, it was just, the room was just packed full of people, and the reactions, and that's so much about being a presenter sometimes, is like having the interaction and reaction with this blank screen with nobody talking.
Well, that's how my daily classes are right now in school. It's blank screens and nobody talking. And I have to be like, is anybody breathing out there? Because I feel really alone right now. Could somebody just make a noise?
You going back?
Well, they're opening the New York City schools, but I've been remote for the whole year. So I'm not going back until September, which I'm really relieved, because I don't think this is smart right now. I don't.
Well, we go back in 2 weeks because I get my other shot tomorrow. And we've been hybrid. And on a positive note, like it's really slowed down. Like not as many kids are like contact tracing, but I think it's because we have half the kids and everyone's distant.
Right.
I think as soon as you bring, because I rearranged my room back to the way it was over the weekend, and the kids walked in today, and even though there's still half the kids, the room's like set up for 30 students now, not 15. And
so you're going back like normal?
Full time.
Without social distancing. That's crazy.
We were told, make it as best as possible. So the funny part about that is like I have an art room. I have 10 wheels. I've got my jewelry station. I've got my table for the clay. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of stuff to shove into like a room.
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
Yeah.
And so when I put 30 students in a room, yeah, their desks are next to each other. Like, and they sit at like almost like shop tables, you know what I mean? Like 8 kids to a table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So two faces two, faces two, faces two, and they all face the center.
Oh boy.
And so it was funny because when I was talking to the nurse and the assistant principal, I'm like, well, I could try to arrange the things so that they're like, they're within 3 feet. It doesn't matter which, you can face them left, right, forward. It doesn't matter now. Once they're within 3 feet. And I'm like, so you're okay with that? They're like, you do what you do.
Well, we're not going back full. We're going back hybrid because we've been closed completely. And a lot of our kids are switching from hybrid to remote because they don't want to go back until, this is all
Yeah.
like enough people have been vaccinated, enough people are, so it's gonna, I don't know. The whole situation, it just seems like they're jumping the gun to meet an agenda, but it's not necessarily in the best interest of people and the kids and the teachers. And I don't even know that all teachers are vaccinated.
Yeah. And at the moment, like our district, I think the majority of our teachers have taken it, or they've essentially signed something saying we don't want to take it, but we understand we're teaching
That's crazy.
full time. But no, I'm not. I've had COVID. I will be vaccinated. I'm not too concerned because everyone in my household has had it because my daughter plays sports. She's been exposed. My
Wow.
wife has had it because she's in the medical field. And I'm not saying it's not worrisome for people to have it, but my point of getting is like I won't be worried about getting it, but the whole like giving and having kids in the room giving it to each other and like the
Yeah.
whole passing it, them taking it somewhere else, like that's the part that worries me more because now
Right.
I have half the kids. I can be distant, I can do things. 30 kids in the room, nope. And this is their faces today when they saw the desks, and I was like, they're like, how many kids are in the other cohort? And because like one of my classes has like 9,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, well, how many are in the other cohort? I'm like 20.
Oh
And they're
God.
like, what? I go, yeah, there'll be 30 kids in here. Well, where are they going to sit? Right next to you.
Do they have an option to opt out or everybody has to go back?
If you're virtual, you have to stay virtual.
Right. That's what
But
we have.
no, if you're hybrid, you come back. So it'll be a crapshoot
Good luck,
for
man.
Tigers.
Oh boy.
All right.
All right. There's 9 people waiting. I guess I could start letting people in.
I have played with this and set it up a couple times, and hopefully nothing crashes on my while we're doing this.
Hopefully.
So
Although with tech, you just never know.
that's right.
Are you working in Photoshop or Photopea or both?
I'm going to demo in Photopea. That way everyone can follow along and do it, but the same applies for Photoshop. So
Okay, cool.
if you will let people in, I'll double check some stuff and get
Yeah.
set up.
I will let people in. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Happy Thursday. Welcome to another Thursday night art making or art learning or both. I'm just going to wait for some more folks to come in. I figure we would start at about 10 after 7. Is that okay, Matt?
Yeah, whatever you need. I can speed up or slow down.
Well, the bulk of people usually come in by 10 after, so that would work fine.
Did everybody bring their comics to color along?
I put it in the flyer. I figured I didn't put the one you sent me. I figured let everybody pick their own if they wanted to work along. Hi, Eva. If you guys are planning to work along with Matt, you might want to open up Photopea online and just set up your doc and open up your coloring page. Eva, I'm recording already, but I guess, I don't know if you can record because you're not the host. I don't know how that works.
Record a recording.
Yeah, record a recording. I usually post all recordings by the weekend following the day that I do the session. So everything will be recorded and posted to our Nikata UFT channel on YouTube.
And I think that was Lisa. No, you don't have your canvas a certain size. You can work straight off your comic, or you can open up a letter size piece of paper. Either one will work.
Is there a DPI minimum that would be best for this?
Usually we work at 300. That's
Okay.
what we tell the students to do. But like I said, I'm going to try to cover everything that we've done with this project so people can use it for different applications.
Cool. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night art teachers art making group or art club. I'm sorry, I'm shot. My brain is shot. I've been drowning in grades for a week and a half. So the circuits keep cutting out between my tongue and my brain. So if you want to open up Photopea to get ready, if you want to work along with us tonight, Matt is presenting in Photopea, and if you have your coloring page ready to go, that would be good too. You can post any questions in the chat, and I'll try to stay on them while Matt is doing the session. Be aware that I record all these sessions and they will be posted by the weekend on YouTube. Okay.
Steph, do you mind putting the YouTube name again in the chat?
Absolutely. Thank you. So when I post into YouTube, it's on the YouTube Nikata
Photopea.com is a website that works a lot like Photoshop. And it's exactly like it sounds. Photopea.com. So here, I'll post a couple things in there too. So
Thank you.
if you want to watch this again.
Photopea is awesome because it's like almost a twin of Photoshop, but it's web-based. So if your kids need free stuff that they don't have to download to their computers, this is really good. The only downside is the annoying little ads that pop up every now and then. So you just gotta close those out and keep going. I guess there's always a price, right?
Yep. There's a, you got this, since we're sitting here chatting, that on my YouTube channel, there's the same project in Photoshop, and it honestly isn't much different, hardly at all. And there is also tutorials on how to do it in GIMP, since we're all just sitting here talking.
Oh,
And
cool.
GIMP is new image manipulation program. And it is also free, but it is a download. So you need like a laptop or a desktop. And GIMP has a bunch of things that you can watch YouTube videos on and learn how to basically get it set up so it works just like Photoshop, but it is completely free, no license. It's not weird, some black market thing you're ripping off the internet. We actually used GIMP for years, which is why we have all the tutorials for it, because they said, do you want new computers or new software? And we said, well, we can't run the software if we don't have new computers. So that was kind of a silly question. So they got us new computers, and then we downloaded GIMP. So we did all of our stuff in GIMP. But the only problem with GIMP is everything takes twice as long because it's a clone of Photoshop. So like everything's not as easy. And that's why you pay for Photoshop, because everything's a little bit easier.
Right.
But no, you cannot download GIMP to iPads. Now you can use Photopea on iPads. And actually you can do Photopea on your phone if you can see it.
Why can't it be downloaded to iPads? That's weird.
GIMP,
Yeah.
because it's not an app, it's an actual like program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anything that runs on apps, you'll need to use Photopea. You can maybe do this project in, I still wouldn't try it, but you could maybe do it in Adobe Fresco, possibly, but I haven't got that far of my tutorials yet.
I didn't know there was a Fresco.
Yes, Adobe Fresco is their new one, and it combines painting, drawing, and vectors, if anyone knows what that is. It combines
Wow.
painting, drawing, and vectors, as well as layers with options for layers. So it's actually very cool, but if you don't know how to use Illustrator, Photoshop, or Procreate, or any other digital stuff, and I know I'm throwing a bunch of words out there, but it kind of gets confusing. Adobe Sketch is nice because it just draws. Adobe Draw is nice because it works like simple Illustrator,
Uh-huh.
but Fresco like combines everything and then throws painting on top of it, so it kind of gets confusing.
Wow, that's amazing.
I posted it in the chat, Julie. It's up a couple things. I'll put it in here again.
Can you use Illustrator for what? To paint?
To do this one we're about to do, I don't think so. It would be really hard.
Yeah, that's more of a vector-based design program. Oh, there was something I wanted to ask you.
Was it about the portrait one you wanted me to do in April?
Well, I was going to talk to you about that later, but oh my God, my brain. Oh, no, your YouTube channel, is it just your name?
No, it's Central. If you just look up Central Art, because we're Pickerington Central.
Is that this link that you put here?
Yeah.
Is that your YouTube channel? Okay.
Yep. There'll be Adobe Draw, Illustrator, and Photoshop and Photopea tutorials.
I think I followed you. Yeah, I am
some play
subscribed.
ones and some other ones.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right. I guess we could, in 2 minutes, in case you, what's embroidery I2?
No idea.
That's from Stephanie Nooner. Care to clarify stuff? Illustrator? What do you mean?
So I've been researching like SVG files, and I have an autistic son in the background. Here's something kind of strange. He's just back here hanging out with me.
Okay.
But you can take SVG files and put them as PES files, which tells your embroidery machine in which direction to fill. And so I've been following some things online, and I am wondering if there's any kind, y'all are talking about GIMP and stuff, which is really cool. Does anybody have any ideas on some embroidery? Because I was watching a YouTube video on Illustrator, and they were bringing up palettes that I had never seen before. And it is like an app for Illustrator, but it's only $3,300. So I thought, is there anybody out there that has any ideas on this? So I didn't know if we had any embroiderers in the house. I'm looking for a friend. So
Well, if anyone has any information, please post it in the chat so we can share it for everybody. I'll keep my eye out.
Yeah, that's a new one. And the only thing I can think of is that it follows the paths that you draw. But
I mean, I was kind of silly. I was watching the video and I'm like, ooh, where is that? I haven't ever seen that. So I was going down through windows, trying to, pull every single layers palette, pathfinders, everything. And I'm like, wait a second, that is not on here. And then I went back and did some research and I'm like, oh, okay.
There are so many like brush extensions and palette extensions for Illustrator and Photoshop. I wouldn't even know where to look for that kind of stuff. And I don't even know, can you use them if you don't own it or have a download, or does it matter? Like,
It depends. There's some places that have free things that you can download, but some of them, for example, there's a filter that you can use on GIMP, and it basically makes things look like lightning. It's really cool, and it's free if you're using GIMP. If you want to use it on Photoshop, it's like $50. But if you've ever seen like an effect where it looks like people are actually made of lightning, I forget the name of it because it's been Rodilius. That's it. RODILUS, the Rodilius filter. It's ridiculously, sorry, I was trying to make
it's ridiculously
$50 for Photoshop, but free for GIMP.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep, I guess so. So, well, we've already been talking. So, I've been talking to Matt Young, who has generously offered his time today and has done it before. So he's going to show us some cool painting techniques in Photopea, which is a brother to Photoshop, totally free and web-based, which will help out a lot of us who don't have Photoshop for the kids. And if you have any questions while he's going, you could put it in the chat and I'll let him know. And I'm just going to turn it over to you, Matt. If I want to, let me pin you so everybody can see you. There you go. And I'll turn it over. Enjoy the session, folks.
It says host disabled screen sharing.
Oh, I have to give you your permissions. How do I do that now?
Make him a
co-host. Yeah, make co-host. That's right. Okie doke, you should be good now.
Aha. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, well there it is. This FYI if you're looking for it. Hi, Matt Young. I'm a high school teacher in Pickerington, Ohio, which you would better know as a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. This is my 26th year of teaching, and part of my day is spent doing computer graphics. So this is a fun project that anyone can do. I'll kind of walk you through the project. Feel free to ask questions along the way. I'll just kind of talk to you guys through it as I would kind of teach the students. It's kind of ironic. We are actually doing this in class presently at the moment. So, this is one of our foundational projects that we do. So I'm going to start off with a little kind of background. We have the students go look. They have essentially two options. They can either A, draw something, but remember this is a foundations class, so not every kid can draw. It's just foundations in computer graphics. Foundations in drawing is a completely separate class. But if kids want to bring in their own drawing, they can, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. But a lot of kids will hop online and they'll do this. They'll go, oh, let's look up comics. And then they'll go to images and then they'll look stuff up, and we like tell them, no, this is ridiculous. There's 8,000 comics. You need to be way more specific. So for this demo, we tell them, like, think of something you have interest in doing. And we actually show there's a whole YouTube series on Marvel comics. And one of the series is about people that only job is to color comics. They don't actually draw the comics. They just color them. So it's a great series to watch. So we actually show them this little series on YouTube because these gentlemen's only job is all they do is color. So for this demo, I'll just do a Batman comic. And again, you're going to get like all of these colored things. And one way to kind of search through this mess is to go to images, tools, size large, so they will only have a large image to work with, and then color black and white. So we have a talk with the students about like, oh, this is really, really cool, but there's a lot of grays and a lot of blacks, and it's already shaded. There's nothing for us to do. So we go through here, and again, this is kind of hand drawn, and I'll talk about hand drawing stuff here in a minute. This is a lot of panels maybe to draw for a foundations kid, and they'll search through here, and then they'll eventually kind of land on something like this, which is about what our foundation level students can handle. Another fun thing that students can do is we tell them, if you don't want to look up comics, there is an option for coloring pages. Same thing, tools, size large, because you want a large image. And these are obviously going to be really well drawn and kind of black and white images. We tell students to stay away from stuff like this. No, this is too simple. You're a high school kid. You can handle drawing a little more stuff than that. So this is more high school appropriate. That's more high school appropriate, even though it's kind of Lego-ish. This is more high school appropriate. And like I said, I'll show you some examples of some stuff at the end when we're finished of what some of my students have done. They are okay if they want to put a couple images together. And some students, since they do have Photoshop experience, they will take a couple different pictures and put them together into one pictures, like the Batman and the Joker or stuff like that. We then have a whole talk about copyright usage. Remember, this is just for them. Someone else has drawn it. We aren't going to put it in any art shows. They are not going to sell it on Etsy. This is obviously, you are coloring someone else's work, and we're just doing this as an example. So, for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to show you guys a couple things. If a student has their own work, oh, and by the way, this is Photopea, if you've never seen it before, and I will try to make my screen a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So go ahead and open the work up directly in Photopea. You don't really need to put it on a piece of paper or do anything like that. But if a student has their own drawn work here, but it's not quite black and white yet, what you want to do is come up here to Image, adjust the levels. And if you guys can see here on the levels, the level over here to the left is black, the level in the middle is gray, the level over here is white. Using those levels, the students can adjust their pictures to pretty much get rid of the gray and take their project to more of a black and white line drawing. So if you have a student that has something drawn, but it's not quite pen and ink, but it is a pretty deep pencil sketch, they can come in under levels, adjust their blacks, get rid of their grays, move their whites to brighter, and get it pretty much as close as you need it to be. So just FYI, that is how a student would take their own work, and it is very handy if you want to do this in the future. Again, I'll show you guys some examples of some different things. All right, for this demo, we are going to be doing Batman and Superman, two of my favorite classic characters together. And again, you would just drag it right here into Photopea. And you can, like I said, you can do this with any comic as long as it's black and white. You can adjust the levels and you want to get it to this. So the first thing I'll tell the students to do is to look around their project and make sure there's nothing that needs fixed. So for example, we're not going to want this little signature in there. Again, we're not selling these. So we're going to take a paintbrush and we're going to make it black and white, and we're going to take some white paint and we're just going to go ahead and erase that up here. And by the way, zooming in with this project is very helpful. We're going to take a paintbrush with the black and we're going to go ahead and, oops, sorry. And we're going to color over some of the areas that we don't want. All right. So the first thing the students do is prep their comic, because it's important that this first layer be as prepped as it can be. So we're going to make it as black and as white. We would have done image, adjust the levels. We would have done all of that jazz. Once your comic is prepped, here comes the cool fun part. So over here where it says background, you're going to right click on the background and you're going to duplicate it. This layer is going to be called the color layer because we're going to color on the color layer. Ooh, sorry. One important thing. Sometimes on the internet, and have the students check this, they are going to want to sit here and say, hey, why isn't my thing coloring? We also tell them to check the image. Sorry, I gotta figure this one out. In Photoshop, wait a minute. I know what it is in Photoshop. It's not adjust. Hold on.
What are we looking for?
There is a sometimes the image comes in as a grayscale and not as an RGB color. And for some reason, I am having a brain fart as to where it is in
Would
Photoshop.
that be in image mode?
Image adjustments, you can go to threshold for black and white.
No, yes, all of that is right too. But what I'm saying is there is image mode in Photoshop. You are correct. I'm forgetting where it is.
I didn't think there was one in Photopea. I thought it was just RD.
You
We're
might be
doing
right.
books. We're doing
might-
books right now to go to print, and all the research I've done, there's nothing to convert it to anything other than RGB.
All right,
Okay.
thank you, Karen. Because yes, that is one of the things we tell them is to check the mode and make sure it's RGB. Luckily, I know this still works in Photopea. So if it doesn't work in Photopea, sorry, the mode needs to be RGB. All right, back to what I was saying. Duplicate the background, make it a color layer. After you've made the color layer, duplicate the color layer. And you're gonna make this the lines layer. And once you've made the lines layer, color layer, in the background, here's what we tell the students. The lines layer is actually going to be the layer that has the lines on it. And in order to make the lines, we're going to come up here to normal and we're going to change it to multiply. And multiply means make white clear. If you guys attended the text one I did earlier in the year, we did that with the text art too. So multiply means make white clear. So you hit multiply. The lines are now clear. We're going to lock this layer so we don't mess with it. Come down here to the color layer. All right. And I tell the students to grab a brush, make sure that the brush is a hard brush. So just make sure they pick one of the hard ones, not the fuzzy or any others. So just the normal hard brush. All right. And then down here, you've got your options of picking colors. So I'm just going to pick red for Superman's cape. And again, if you zoom in, I tell the students to zoom in because that way they're not focused on one thing at a time, but we're going to be coloring on the color layer. You can make the brush bigger with the brackets on your keyboard. So I tell them it's a lot like playing a video game. If you're working in a big open space, then you can use your bracket really big. If you're working close to the edge, you can go down and obviously, you know, get it really, really, really small. All right. Some students will have trouble picking colors. So if that is the case, there is another thing you can do. I tell them to go look up like just a comic. So again, for Batman, hold on, I'm gonna file open just so I don't mess up another one. I tell them to find colored versions that have professionally already been done. Because some kids have trouble with like, ooh, what's a skin tone? What's this? What's that? So again, using the eyedropper tool, they can pick a skin tone, come back over here, same deal, grab the brush tool and start coloring. So students will honestly spend a few days sitting here painting. Now, a couple things students will want to do. Sometimes they will be like, ooh, hey, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to come over here and grab the paint bucket tool. And I'm just going to paint in this area and paint in this area and paint in this area. And I don't know if you guys can see this on the computer really well. Can everybody see there's like a white line? I'm zoomed like way in.
Yep.
The paint bucket tool doesn't always fill everything in. It leaves all these little dots because it's an artificial intelligence. I tell the students they're going to be sitting there thinking they're cheating and like, hey, Mr. Young, I'm going to have this done in 5 minutes. It's not about having it done in 5 minutes. It's about doing it correctly. And it actually will take you less time to learn to use the brackets on your computer to sit here and paint things really quickly. Then it will be to click, 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 fill in, fill in, fill in, click, click, fill in, fill in, fill in, fill in, fill in. So the great thing about this is students can now take any of their line work and super simple, they can go in and they can fill in everything. They can color away, they can pick the colors they need from somewhere else. They can come over here and grab the eyedropper tool. They can come back, grab the brush tool, and they can fill everything, just work their way around. And I'll tell you right now, especially during the pandemic, this has been one of my students' favorite projects because everybody loves a good coloring book. So doing this method is really cool. You preserve your lines, you're able to fill in with color, and I'm going to actually close out of this one for a minute. And I'm going to open up one that I've already colored because you don't need to watch me color this over and over again. So
Matt, quick question.
yes.
Have you ever, you ask, or I'm curious about why you wouldn't use the magic wand tool and kind of select or shift and select all the areas that you wanted red.
To fill in, it's the same deal. Since the line work was already there, it won't pick it. You'd be spending more time trying to adjust your selection or have it grow or have it expand or do something else. And since this is a foundation thing, for us, it's just easier to have the students go on the layer and practice coloring. As they got better and they could probably move and select and pick and expand and modify and do all of that other stuff, yes, it is an option. But back to the whole kind of paint bucketing deal, you could select an area, but it might not fill it in, and then you go back. So that is an option. But in all honesty, most high school students, just to let you know, could color, and I have 44-minute periods. Most high school students will have this colored in just like mine is right now. So, oops, sorry, I put New York in there too soon. Most students will have this colored in this type of comic right here in like 2 class periods. So it's not a big deal. It's not a huge time consumer or waster. And like I said, it is kind of social and emotional with them. It is very calming. They'll sit there. I've had a kid who's been a pain in my butt all year long, and he's got the Joker right now, kind of an evil Joker, and he is like focused. He's like zooming in and coloring all the things and getting his hair green, and I have never seen this kid so focused. So anyway, I do tell the students to zoom in again, just make sure there's no, areas of white that you've missed, because back to what Karen was asking about the selection, that's going to come in handy here in a minute. So I just have them go through and kind of like recheck their work, make sure everything's all colored in, but this is what a comic should look like when it is colored.
So you do all the flat color first. You
Yep.
don't go in with any shading or highlighting or anything. Okay.
Nope. So we give them either a homework assignment, if you guys do that, but we give them a homework assignment and we tell them that they need 3 areas of realism in their project. In other words, 3 places where they will actually use real stuff in their project. Most of them will normally pick a background as one of their items of realism. And again, they can do all kinds of cool things. I'll show you some stuff later, but you can pick textures. So like I'm going to make Superman's cape look like it's made of fabric. I'm going to make Batman's pack down here look like it's made of carbon fiber. And one of the most common things they will pick is putting in a background. And putting in a background is really easy because you've already made, the white clear. So you just really, it's just a matter of taking the background and kind of dropping it in back here, whatever it is. But kind of what Steph asked for, the background is one of the important things, which is after they paint the flat color, we look for them to have a light source. And usually when you put in the background, that kind of talks or discusses where the light source is going to be. So since most of these students do not have drawing again, these are just computer graphics kids, we talk about light source. So just for fun, I'm gonna make a new layer really quick. Grab a paintbrush. I'm gonna make it yellowish. All right. I won't pay everything out. So let's try that one more time. Let's make it yellow. There we go. So we talk to students about light sources, and you know, in class we have a demo, just like you guys would have a normal drawing demo. It would be like, all right, look, the sun is over here, and the sun rays are coming this direction. And so if the sun rays are coming from this direction, where's the light going to be? And you know, hopefully they say the light will be on this side. Okay, where are the shadows going to be? The shadows are going to be on this side. And so we have that whole like discussion with them of light and shadow. We bring a big light out in the room. We have a kid up to stand up. Before COVID, we did this, and then show them where the shadows hit, things like that. I will be honest, the most you can expect out of a kid with no drawing experience for this next step is they get lights on one side and darks on the other side, and that they're all in the same place. So all the lights are on the right and all the darks are on the left. You've done your job. If you have a student that has some drawing experience, their shading will be a little bit better. And obviously the more experienced art kid you have, the better your drawing will be. So here's the next step. So everything's colored. You figured out where your light source is. You're going to take your color layer and you're going to duplicate it. And you're going to call this layer shading. Now, this is where Karen's thing about the magic wand comes in handy. So if you have done your job of coloring this correctly, over here is a tool called the magic wand, and it selects color. So I will just pick Superman blue for right now. And the great thing about it is if you did this correctly, you can now see I have all my Superman blue selected. So no matter what I do or how I try to paint, so let me grab the paintbrush again. No matter how I try to paint, I can't paint anywhere except inside of my blue. So that is kind of the key part to this. So now here comes the fun part. This is where the shading part happens. And like I said, basic computer graphics kids, you're going to be happy that they're going to do to look like this. My finished demo is not what kids will do. They can do one of two things. Come back here, pick the color picker. They got the color. You can obviously pick a lighter version of the color. You can pick a darker version of the color. You can also come back over here to your shaded one and do the same thing. You can grab your color picker and pick a lighter version of the color if you want. All right. You're going to come over to the area you want shaded. Grab your brush, except this time you would like your brush to be fuzzy. So it's called soft brown, fuzzy brush. So you want your soft brush, all right? And you want it pretty good size, because think of this like you're really doing a drawing. You don't want to come in with a hard brush and like rub it on the paper. You're gonna get a really hard line. You want a soft fade. So you're gonna take the edge of this brush and you're just gonna create a soft fade along the outside where you think that the lights are. You'll create a soft fade around the outside where you think the lights are, soft fade where you think the lights are, soft fade where you think the lights are, okay? And then you can do vice versa. You can come over here and you can grab the darkest part of what you're doing. Okay, a real dark one. I actually might go a little bit darker just so you guys can see it. Come back over here, grab the brush again, kind of the same thing, grab the brush, and you have a dark side, you have a dark side, And look, you can even go in here with the dark, it doesn't get on the skin. So the great thing about using the magic wand is you can have all these darks and lights and get all of this stuff done. And you're not going to affect any of the other colors on your other things that you're going to shade. And I have my students try to shade one color at a time. The other thing is, if the students really, really screw up, they can always go back to delete this shading layer, go back to their color layer, copy it again, make it a new shading layer. But most students are going to do a pretty good job. Lights on one side, darks on the other side. And actually, I may make that even a little bit darker so you guys can, I don't know. Does that show up on your guys' screen? Can you see it getting darker?
Yeah, it could go a little darker still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to get it a little bit darker. The blue is tough. All right. So I will do the kind of the rest of the little demoing here. But you're going to go in here, you're going to do this, the same thing. When you're done working, you think you've got all the blues kind of shaded the way you want to. All right. So when you think you got all the blues shaded the way you want to, you're going to select, deselect, grab the magic wand, pick the skin tone. Okay. Same deal. You can pick the color, come over here, grab a lighter version of the skin tone, click OK, grab your brush. You can do a lighter side, you can do a lighter side. You can do the same thing, grab your skin tone, come back over here, grab a darker one, grab your brush, and it only will paint in now the skins, all right? So it'll only paint in the skin tones. And so they're going to go through and they're going to go through and they're going to pick and hopefully, you know, paint and, you know, do this. I tell them to take their time. Obviously, just like a drawing lesson, you know, you're going to want them to put there. When they're done doing all the skin tones, there's some Batman skin tones. And they can be, like I said, the most to hope for with the students is that they're kind of getting lights on one side, mediums in the middle, darks, and that there's somewhat of a fade, no harsh blending is what we call it. All right. So when they're done with the red, Kate, again, deselect, go over here, magic wand, grab the cape. Now we've got all the reds, grab the reds. All right. So instead of boring you with all that jazz, hopefully everyone gets the idea. Lights, darks, lights, darks.
I have a
Now,
quick question.
yes.
So when you are doing this, do you teach the app as you go, or have you already taught them the app some other way so that they learn where everything is and how to navigate it?
So that is a very good question. So yes, every single project we do teaches different things, roughly about 4 to 6 items in Photoshop per project. So Steph, to answer your question, for example, the first project is all about like moving, layers, selecting, and then there's a simple drawing thing. And then
So
there's
you would have to teach them little tiny exercises to familiarize them with the app
yes,
before you get to this point.
yep.
Okay.
And so like one of the biggest things in Photoshop is being on the right layer, moving things around and making sure things are selected. So that's like one of our first projects. It's called the graffiti project. And they learn some basic drawing and manipulating of layers. The second project is the text one that I showed you. And that obviously involves layers and text, as well as some filters. Then
That
there's
was only the second project? That was intense for a second time.
The students pick it up really fast. The third project is a collage, and that's just, think of like your old school, like cutting things out with scissors and gluing them. And then that teaches a lot of cutting and fading and erasing and filters and layer styles. And then this comic is actually the fourth one. And the kids pick it up pretty quickly.
Are these in your video?
Yeah, everyone's in there.
Everything. Okay.
Yeah, everything's in there. And I don't know how in all the videos are in order. So they're like graffiti 1, graffiti 2, graffiti 3.
Okay.
But I don't know how in order they are on the website as far as like project 1, project 2.
Cool.
All right, so I tell the kids, does that answer your questions though?
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, so I tell the kids now if they want a little extra credit, now let's learn to be like a little bit better artists. So if you go to your coloring layer, which is why we kept it, go back to your magic wand, pick your blue again, and notice it picks all the blue again. If I go to the shading layer and I hit the magic wand, see, it doesn't pick stuff correctly because it's already been shaded. So you need to go to the coloring layer and pick the correct color. Now, if you go to your shading layer, and over here is a thing called, there's a blur, a sharpen, and a smudge. We want to use the smudge tool with a soft eraser again, or a soft brush, and you want it to be 50%. And again, think drawing on a piece of paper. If you were to take your finger and you have the students blend their pencil, they're not going to take their fist and like jam it into their pencil and like smudge the heck out of it. You tell them to take the end of their finger and lightly blend in, just like you would, you know, do a pencil. So you can use the smudge tool. Again, you want your brush fairly big. And we talk about this, the artists have already kind of drawn the muscles. All right, so the artists have already drawn. So if the muscle goes this direction, I will put this pointer on so you can see it. If the muscle goes this direction, the shadow will occur in this direction. The shadow won't occur this way or this, you know, it goes in this direction. So you follow the contour of the artist's drawings to try to see where the light would hit on the muscle and the light would shadow on the muscle. And we have a little talk with this with the kids. Again, it's not a drawing class, so this is a very short demo, but we do show them that if you grab the smudge tool and you go along here, you can shape your shadows a little bit, and it did exactly what I want to show you. You do need to be careful. If there is some black, you can drag the other color away. So you got to be careful when you're doing it, just like you would when you're painting. But you can, I'm trying to do this, it's been a minute since I have done this in Photopea. But now you can kind of contour some of the lines, and you can take your time. And this is where you can get, this is why you can take this project from really simple. So we've had little kids do this, like fourth, fifth graders, and they can do flat color, like a coloring book, and a little bit of shading, and they think it's the most amazing thing in the world. High school kids can definitely do flat color and get basic shading down. I would say about half of my students will take the time to earn the extra credit because they get into this, because it's not hard to sit here and actually shape some of these shadows and get them to fit exactly. And then back to the zooming in to get the shadows to fit the contour of what they're doing. All right, so you can actually sit here and get the shadows to really kind of shape in here, and you can get them to like follow the line of the finger, and you can get them to follow skin. If you want to get crazy, yes, you could talk about clothing and folds and where the darks hit and where the lights hit, but you can really get into this lesson as far as if you want to go advanced and where light hits and curving. And this is where it's neat to show that little Marvel video I was talking about, because you watch the Marvel color guys do this and they are a little bit sped up, but they like whip through this because obviously it's their job and that's what they do. So anyway, this is the smudge tool. It is over here and it's a fuzzy and it's a 50%. And like I said, you can really use this. There you go. I think you guys can see that one really well. You can really use it to contour your shading when you're done. So I'm going to exit out of this one really quick. It's going to get mad at me. Hold on a second. File open. And if a student takes their time, that is a student that, well, I did it, but this is a student that would have taken their time to shape the shadows. All right. You can see in here the kind of detail and level of detail that you can get with this. You can really get in there and shape everything on the shading layer. And again, the great thing about it is they don't ever lose their color layer that they did doing this. So this is what I would consider like a higher level kid. But if you have a kid that has drawing and painting experience, they can 100% do this just from the stuff you've taught them in class. So I've left Batman out of this. Sorry, I haven't given Batman his due respects. So there you go. So far, any questions about shading or coloring?
So once you break it down, it's just so easy looking.
It kind of is. Just a little history. It takes a couple days for them to color. It will take maybe a day or two to talk about putting the background, lighting, how to do lighting, especially for kids that have never shaded or done any type of lighting and stuff before. So it'll take a couple days for them to just start doing this. And then another couple days for them to shade everything. So now we're on about day 6 of the project. If you're looking to get it, you spend about another half period talking about the contouring of lines and shading. So give the kids another day or two. All right. So now we're on like day 8 or 9 of this assignment. And like I said, good kids that have drawing experience will be able to create these shadows using the effects of the smudge and the fuzzy brush tool.
Oh, we have a question.
Yes.
Is there a reason why you don't have the kids use the dodge and burn tools instead of smudge?
It doesn't look as natural. That's about the best way I can do it. It's a lot harder for them to do that. And sometimes you overburn something or overlighten.
Okay.
Plus, we're trying to teach this more about art, if that makes sense, than the Photoshop tool. Because you don't magnify glass and burn your painting, and you don't acid wash or whatever you're painting to get it lighter. So we're trying to get them to use color and move it around the page like they really would do a painting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not to mention, back to the whole, I don't know, I don't get paid by Marvel, but just to shout it out. It's what they do. They have a whole palette of colors over there, and all they're doing is just going between colors. They don't really dodge and burn a lot. They use a lot of color palettes. So, all right. So a couple other things that you can do. So now it's like, okay, this is shaded. This looks really cool. You've got the background in there, but I would like to make something look a little more realistic. So this cape is great, but let's give it some texture maybe and make it look like it's made of canvas or cotton or something along those lines. So let me get out of this really quick. File open. If you hop on the internet and you can look up HD, whatever, you can look up HD, D as in dog, jeans, HD, cotton, HD, carbon fiber, HD, and HD just means a high def image. And there are free ones all over the internet for you to grab. They are everywhere. And this is kind of a really cool effect that you can do. So what I will do is, here I got my cotton, these selection boxes up here. So I'm gonna select this. All
What
right.
did you say search under? HD?
HD, whatever. So like if you want here, since you guys are seeing my screen, oops, sorry. So like if I look up like HD carbon fiber, there you go. HD carbon fiber wallpaper, images, tools, size, large.
Okay.
Carbon fiber, there it is. HD just means a high def image of just what you want. So there are all kinds of free ones out there.
Okay.
All right, so I grab the selection box and I'm going to select this canvas over here. I'm going to edit, copy it, and I'm going to come over here to my demo, and I'm going to paste my material. All right, and you can see there I've got my canvas. All right, you would want your canvas to look somewhat like it's going to do what it's supposed to, so I'm going to make it a little bigger than what I need it, and I'm going to a little bit more. I'm going to turn it a little bit more because it's got to cover his cape. There we go. All right, so right now at the moment it is coloring his cape. Now here is another cool thing. If you saved your color layer and you did everything correctly, go ahead and turn your canvas off. So turn the eyeball off on the canvas. Come down here to the color layer. Grab your magic wand. Pick your cape again. Okay, because you just need your cape. That's all you need. Come back here. Turn your canvas back on. Come back up here to your canvas. And now, what's great about this is you only have the canvas selected the size of the cape. Now we want to erase everything that is not the cape. So you come up here to go to select the inverse, which means the opposite. So I want to erase everything that's not cape. Grab the eraser tool. Grab the eraser tool that I gave. Oh, I make it small. You guys can't even see that. Sorry, I went the other way. Grab the eraser tool, and now I'm going to erase away everything. This is the fun part. You're going to erase away everything that is not the canvas.
So you wouldn't want to use delete?
You can hit delete too, in
Okay.
either one, in either direction. You could erase it away. Again, sorry, I'm teaching this like I teach the kids. You can hit delete. It is an option.
Okay.
We're just trying to keep them with the brush and eraser. Back to kind of the whole like repeating things to them over and over again. It's like brush eraser, brush eraser, brush eraser, brush eraser.
Right.
So anyway, erasing everything. All right, we're going to deselect stuff. Sorry, I got a little bit of canvas on his little Superman thing right here. All right. So now we have the canvas that's covering our coloring, and we don't want that. So just like multiply, I will tell you right now, some materials work different on others. So like you can pick multiply. That kind of looks kind of cool. So multiply is an option. There is also screen. That one doesn't look right with this. There is overlay. That one doesn't look bad either. So usually multiply, screen, overlay are like three of the big ones that work well. For this one, I would say multiply probably gives it the best look. And you can also play around with the opacity of it. And if you have that student that is amazing and super challenging and all of the above with whatever, this creates an even pattern. And I know we're all looking at it going like, oh, that is cool, but yeah, it looks like an even pattern all over everything. Well, you can go back to the smudge tool again, and you can have carefully, you don't want to do too much, but you can try to kind of move it around a little bit. You may even drop it somewhere down in the 25s, but you can have them start to move some of the cape and stuff around to make it so it is look like it's moving around within it. So that's that. The same kind of deal if I went down here to Batman's. Oops, sorry, got to go to coloring layer. And I pick his utility belt. I can come to file, open. I can grab my carbon fiber, open. And grab the carbon fiber, copy my carbon fiber, come over here to my demo, paste my carbon fiber, grab my carbon fiber, and carbon fiber needs to be up here. Again, get it to fit. All right. Click OK. Hide it. Color layer. Magic wand. Like this. Turn the ammo back on. Go back to the layer. Grab the eraser tool. Oh, sorry. Select inverse. I forgot what I was teaching myself. There's a carbon fiber now on his fanny pack. Deselect, layer, multiply, or layer, overlay. So probably multiply. There you go. Now he has carbon fiber fanny pack. You can get crazy. You can even give them superpowers. Like if you wanted to, I even have file open. I even picked a laser beam to shoot out Superman's eyes. If you wanted to have his one shoot out of Superman's eyes, you could pick a laser beam. You can have the kids kind of go crazy and do whatever they wanted. But that's kind of the gist of the comic books with the overlay and everything. So to show you some examples of what my students have done. By the way, if you want to go here, Central Art Blog, the project, I will put that in the chat. Here are the projects, by the way, Steph. So
Okay, cool.
here's graffiti and all of the handouts, Photoshop versions, GIMP versions. Here's the text art we did, handouts, Photoshop versions, GIMP versions, the collage, the handouts, you get the idea, creatures, comics, and Adobe Draw. That's what all the kids would do in foundations. So
That's very cool. Thank you.
that's all the stuff. If you guys want it,
Yeah, you want to post the
I will
link to
throw
that
that
in the chat?
Hold on a second. Let me go back. See, where's the chat? I don't even know how to find it.
Just click on it on the bottom of your screen and
It's
it's,
at the top.
oh, you're on an iPad or an iMac? I mean,
No, I'm on my PC, but all right, I promise I will post it at the end. How about that?
okay.
If you
Also,
hover at the top, if you hover over where it shows that you're sharing,
yes,
it'll drop that menu down so you can see the chat.
oh, nope. Now it says that you're avoiding the gym. Sorry.
Well, that's weird. Okay, never mind.
All right, I promise I will put it in the chat here in a second. What I was going to show you is we have a virtual display board. So if you go to our Wix, computer graphics, comics, these are what some of our students have done. So I'm going to scoot you guys over for a second. So here is a Simpsons one, and I thought this was great. I don't know if you guys can tell. This student did Simpsons Inception. So it's Simpsons inside of Simpsons inside of Simpsons. There's actually one more Simpsons in there. But you can see the wood texture on his signboard and the carpeting and the wood frame. Here is the Hulk, the Thing, Mr. Fantastic fighting in the desert. These were two that were put together. I don't know if that one looked familiar from when I was showing you how to look up comics, but there's Batman and the Joker. You can also do an effect to put in a shadow. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but he's got a carbon fiber there. He's got the shadow, he's got the background. And this is a student that has drawing, and you can see how good his shading is. They can even do some manga things that I've never seen before. She's got special effects with the lights and the stars. I don't know if you guys can see that, how well that comes across, but you can do, there are all different types that students can do. This one is one of my favorites. This was an actual black and white comic. She actually put glass effects to make the glass appear as if it was shaded, and she literally went through every single one of these glass panes and gave them the effect of like they're reflecting. The metal effects on all the bullet casings, as well as a layer effect to make it look like the guns were bursting. Yes, I allowed her to do Deadpool and guns in school because theoretically she's, in my opinion, Deadpool shooting at the sky. So there's no one that Deadpool is shooting at, and this was so well done. And yes, the student has drawing ability. And here's the crazy thing about it is she actually, this came with a background originally that was drawn by the artist, and she took the time to erase the background, but found a city that almost exactly matched what the original artist had done to put in the reflections and everything. She's in art school, but she was still a foundations kid when she did this. That's one of my favorite. Again, Disney, you can see this is this is Disney, and it's not complex, but it looks so detailed. You got the scales in the mermaid, the wood in the ship, the texture in the rope, and the bird is shaded. Prince Eric, I should know this, I have a daughter, is shaded. And look, if you can see the lines in the hair, the kids really get into it. Looney Tunes, these are multiple ones that were put together. The Martian and Daffy Duck were together, but then the other ones were thrown in and colored as well. And then Captain Marvel and Captain America. That's another really good one. This girl also ended up going on to art school. So, but yeah, all of these were high school kids, and they all started off as black and white comics. And I guess that is this. How long did we go, Steph?
Oh, I usually go to 8:30, but
Okay.
don't feel pressured if you, we could take question and answer. We could have
I have another question. I know I'm being a little pain.
oh, no, it's
No.
fine.
Matt, when you were showing us on you did the demo, and then when we went back to the one, there was a background selection that was all green. It was like you duplicate. See it there?
Oh,
Well,
down there,
it
the
is.
background selection.
What's that?
This is where I did a selection mask. So that's this down here. If you've never used it before, but I did a selection mask. Oops, now I gotta take it off. Essentially that allowed me to kind of like block out the background. So whenever I did any of the other shading, I wouldn't affect anything on the background. It was more for me than the students. So this is a more of an advanced thing. I would have never really tell the kids. That's why I kind of tucked it below the background.
Well, now it looked like a mask, and I thought it looked like you were masking out the background, but I couldn't figure out why, because I thought all of the work had already been, kind of done. So
yeah, and it's one of those things. If I have it prepped in case of, I always have all my demos prepped, obviously, just in case.
I thought you had another magic trick that I wanted to get my hands on.
There really is no magic trick. The big ones for this one are going to be getting the kids to remember the brush, the eraser, the smudge, and getting, like I said, for foundational kids, getting them to kind of get the color in there and get it correctly. But no, I don't have any magic stuff. This one is all about getting them to like look at their keyboards and learn like shortcuts, brackets, B for brush, I for eyedropper, E for eraser, and kind of work in that way. So
yeah, I thought it was great. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, this is super.
and like
Yeah.
I said, this one we have done on just about every device, including a phone. So
Well, at the beginning, when we were talking about the RGB and can you make me believe that that is true? I know I did just look it up. I didn't investigate terribly far. I think as soon as I read that Photopea had no other option other than RGB, I stopped.
okay.
Does
Well,
anybody-
I will believe you because I've never had to use it, and none of my students have ever complained, because up until like this project was done before COVID hit last year. So we never had to investigate Photopea using this project. And then this is the first year I've used it, and my students have just done the flat color so far, and not one of my students has said like, hey, I've had a problem putting color in my project. So you might be right. Maybe it only loads things in as RGB, which would be nice.
we're actually trying to publish a book. And the printer's going to take high-res PDF files, and we lost our Adobe suite. So I'm using Photopea, and I'm not sure how well that's going to go. That is being printed digitally, but I don't know how that's going to go. That's why I was looking to see if anybody knew for sure.
Yeah, this is new. Believe me, it's new to me. I've had to do all these demos in like Photopea and Photoshop. So I've done them in GIMP. I've done them in Photoshop. Now I'm doing them in Photopea. And for the love of God, I hope I don't have to do one more thing.
We
Because
appreciate it.
my new thing, which I am not going to demo for you guys, is Adobe has a program called Adobe Dimension.
Oh boy.
And so half of my intermediate computer graphics class is art. So they're doing vector portraits, which Steph wants me to do later. And then the next unit we're going to go into is graphic design. And if you ever want to play around with it, if you happen to have Adobe suites at your school, it takes Illustrator or Photoshop files. And Dimension means you actually take a 3D blank. So the simple way to say this is you can design like a brand new Starbucks logo, for example. And then you would put a blank like table in a room. And by blank, I mean it looks like a white table that's like in 3D, like you can turn it. And then you can put like a horizon line in, and then you can put like a coffee mug on top of it, and then a blank bag, like everything's blank. And then you can give things texture like glass and wood, and then you can light them. And then you can take your own logo and stick it on there, and Adobe Dimension will wrap the logo however you want it. So you can resize it and do whatever. So this whole, not only will the students create their own like branding with this graphic design unit, but then they're going to go into Dimension and create their like layouts. So they can put it on cars, they can put them on billboards, they can put them anywhere, and it'll look like you'll be able to take a tour of their scene that they're branding. It's cool. So sorry, that has nothing to do with comics, but it's
We
really
have some
cool.
questions, Matt.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, wow, a whole bunch of them just popped up. So it says, what is the ratio of students not having any traditional art background to only graphic design background?
So they're in our classes, I would say about 20% have had another art class, and probably about 80% haven't. We have 3 different types of foundations. Sorry, we have 4 foundations classes in our school. One is Foundations in 3D, which teaches ceramic sculpture and metal. Foundations in 2D, which teaches drawing and painting. Foundations in computer graphics, which is Photoshop with a little intro to Illustrator. And then photography, which is half film and half digital. So we have 4 foundations classes. Most kids will come into our class not having any art background because it's a foundations class, and they're afraid to work with clay or metal. They don't want to draw and paint and take pictures. So they're like, but I like computers. So it's like probably 80-20, no background.
Wow. And could you post your contact information? People are asking for the name of your
Yes.
site and your email.
Let's see if this works.
Yeah.
Stop sharing. There's my face. There's the chat. There we go. All right. So hold on. This is the site. So, okay. There's the site. All right, back over here. For those that didn't get it at the beginning, there is a YouTube channel. If you want that. If you wanted to listen to this all over again. But it's broken down by steps. So the great thing that I like about my videos versus other videos is literally, I think the longest video I've ever made is like 6 minutes long. Because I try to break it down into steps. So the first one's like finding and opening a comic the correct way. Then the next video is like setting up your comic with layers. Then the next video is, flat. So you don't have to I think we all know students do not have attention span. So in class, it's like, do this, and then they go do it, and then we stop. So that's why my videos match students' attention spans. So there's not like a 30-minute video of me comic booking. It's one at a time. So
Well, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much.
there you go. Not the problem. I was trying to think if there's anything that I missed, but I'm 99% sure I talked to everything. Setting up the layers, how to color layers, how to do shadows, how to do textures, setting up the comic, how to change a regular comic into or a regular drawing into a comic.
Yeah, black and white.
Yeah, that's all the ones I got.
I think it's, you know, what's absolutely mind blowing to me is that you could do all of this on a phone.
Yeah, it is.
Just
It is super hard, by the way. Oh, and just, I don't know, here's stuff if anyone is in, or did you still want to do this one later, or did you want to talk about it? I could show them if they're interested in coming back later, like 2 seconds of it.
But
The Adobe Draw one.
Yeah, why don't
Just
you?
give 'em a
Because
preview.
I wanna schedule it with you if you can. As
So
long as
here.
you're still willing.
So the other one she wants me to do, just FYI, there is, hold on. Nope, there it is. One of the other foundation projects we do, and the kids love this one, is Adobe Draw. And Adobe Draw is an app. You can download it on anything, as far as I know, that has apps, including Chromebooks. And this is Kahindi Wiley inspired. And I think you guys will see that when you take a look at it. So we have a whole photo shoot session with the students. They do not have to photo shoot themselves. They can photo shoot friends. And I am not a photo teacher. But we do have lighting, and we do encourage them to go take their own photographs. So these are not plagiarized or copyrighted. But what's really cool about this is using Adobe Draw, you can set it to vector draw with certain settings. So it only leaves almost like finger paint impressionistic lines. We don't do it in true color. And so students really focus on line and shadow and contour. So it's really, again, another good drawing and painting lesson. And then we go back in, there's another fun thing called a Masiograph. And there's a couple other free versions of it, but it creates patterns. So the kids create their own patterns. And then they go back into Photoshop or Photopea, and they kind of pull pieces out and lay them in front of each other, just like how Kahindi takes his patterns and kind of overlays them the front of his projects.
Oh,
So
so you do this you do the photograph of them in Adobe Draw, and then you compile the whole thing in Photopea.
yeah, so they can they can compile the layers. That's how we get the pattern to be on top of each other. So
Got it.
and again, these students have never like drawn or painted before. So this is some examples of, I love this one. This is actually one of my favorites.
That's amazing.
So, and Amasiograph is, it basically creates, like, you can draw your own patterns and fill them with color. So
Is it Adobe Illustrator Draw or Adobe Photoshop?
no, Adobe Illustrator Draw or Adobe Draw. It should look like a little pen. It should look like this. Should look like that.
Adobe Draw.
Yeah, should look like that guy right there when you download it. It should have a little pen. Adobe Illustrator Draw.
So that's one that has to be downloaded. It's not web-based.
Correct. It is free.
Yeah.
So it is free. So yeah, this is, like I said, this is one of my favorites because that's one kid's little brother. They don't have any drawing experience, but this is the kid's like first time drawing.
I would love to do this with you. We'll have to figure out dates for what's available.
This girl would not do a person to save her life, so I let her do her cat. And it turned out
Her
amazing.
texture is amazing.
Yeah. So, and that's the other one. Yeah, that's the next time we're together. We can teach this one. But again, this is their last foundational project before we move them to computer graphics and do Illustrator.
Very cool.
So, oh, little brother in the cart. That one we did not put the inspired background because the shopping cart was too cool. So
Love it.
So
Love
there
it.
you
Love
go.
it.
So that is that. If anyone's got any questions or anything more or anything they want, anything?
If nobody has questions, then stay tuned for upcoming sessions. I have more scheduled for, the next one is actually not until April. So I will be posting those the week before. And Matt and you and I can email to pick a date for the vector drawings.
Someone asked you have to have Illustrator before you have Draw. No, but when you do have Draw, they will make you create an account with Adobe in order to use it. So you do have to create an account. If you have your students download Adobe Draw on the on any device, it'll ask them if they're 13 years or older.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a collaboration with a 5th grade teacher. And here's just an interesting thing that happened. So she created an account, and the interesting thing was she had a classroom set of 20 iPads, and I didn't know this was possible, but apparently it is. So you can download the app. She downloaded it to all of her iPads, and she signed into all 20 of the iPads with her account. So just FYI, that was possible for her to do. So if some of you do teach younger kids and would like to try some of this digital stuff and try Adobe Draw or Amazing Graph, or some of them, you can't, I mean, at least worked for her a couple of years ago when she did this. She just created one account and then signed into all the accounts. But the great thing here's the positives and negatives. Great thing is she could see what all the kids were drawing because she had access to all of their drawings. The negative is all the kids also have access to all the other kids' drawings. Now, no one messed with anything because they were working with the high school students, so they were hyper focused. Because my AP kids were working with them, they were collaborating. The high school kids drew the elementary kids drew the high school kids using Adobe Draw. So no one was worried about looking at anyone else's work. They were hyper focused on drawing the high school, and it was a fun project because they would be like, "What do you want your background to be? What colors do you want your face painted?" You know, and they were working. It was really a fun project to do, this FYI.
Wow.
And yes, your Google does use Adobe Draw. That's the great thing about it. So anyway,
That's good to know.
so we'll do that one next because that is another fun one to do. So
I am so grateful for your generosity with your time and your expertise, truly.
no
Thank
problem. I love doing this because I'd like for all teachers to have access to technology, and I know everything costs a lot. I'm very blessed that my school has the means, but you know, it's great that some of these resources are free. And like I said, I have a kid right now that hasn't really done much and has been a pain, but the comic book lesson, he was very, very focused. So
You never know what's going to
therapeutic.
click. You know, you just never know what's going to click for the individual students to grab them. So the more options, the better. And this is great. Thank you again. Yeah. So I guess we'll say good evening, and I'll keep you guys posted on what's coming up next. And I'll email you right after we sign off just to keep it fresh and pick a date for our next one. All right. Thanks so much, Matt. And get some rest, man. Stay safe.
Get my second shot tomorrow.
Yeah. Good for you. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Stay well.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
You're welcome.